Now, the MP for Aylesbury has started a petition calling for Buckinghamshire Council to remove scaffolding in the town, which has blocked a pavement for 7 years. Labour MP Laura Kyrke-Smith described the scaffolding, which blocks the pavement on the A41 in Aylesbury, as dangerous and an eyesore. So we sent our reporter Holly to have a go down to Aylesbury and have a look.
So I'm stood on the high street in Aylesbury, the A41, and I'm just stood next to where the scaffolding has been blocking the pavement for 7 years now. As you can hear, it's a really, really busy road. We've just seen 3 people try and walk down this pavement, all of which have had to stop and wait for a gap in the traffic. There are HGVs going down this road, there are buses going down this road. It's incredibly busy. And I can imagine if you come down here and you're a wheelchair user or a mobility scooter user or you have a pram or a pushchair, you will have to just wait for the traffic to stop to be able to go round with the scaffolding. And that could be a long time based on how much traffic is on this road.
It must be a nightmare for, people with children, because there's nowhere safe to walk, is there?
No.
Like sort of if you come from this way into any of these restaurants and that, you've got to literally walk into the road, haven't you? It's a real nuisance.
And so if you could say anything to the council about the pavement, what would you say?
I would say do something about it before somebody has an accident, really.
There's always a lot of traffic, and then when you've got kids, you've got to be very mindful because you're crossing the double yellow and there's ongoing traffic.
Yeah, of course. And do you have children?
Obviously. Yes, I've got kids.
And do you push them in a pushchair, maybe?
No, my children are older, but it's still very difficult. And obviously, if you've got a pushchair, I can imagine it's a real struggle.
Holly also spoke with Linda Bell. Now, Linda uses a mobility scooter and she has to go out onto that road, and as we can hear, it's a very busy road, to go around the scaffolding.
I've been quite lucky in that a few people stop and let you come round, but lots just sit and wait, and I have to wait for the next one to come along and then take your chance and go back in again. But you have to go along the road a little bit further to find another drop curb. So it's not just round the scaffolding, it's round the scaffolding, up the road a little bit, then onto the drop curb. It's a pain. It's a pain. It's not just for me, it's for people pushing prams. They've got children, holding on to children, still having to walk into the road. It's not just me. I'm bothered about it.
It must be so frustrating because you hear about these stories quite often in terms of cars being parked on the pavement and that kind of thing. But for it to be, well, you would hope that you would go the next day and that car might not be there and you can use that path again. But for it to be years and you having to use a different route to go to town, or the other option is go on the road, that must be incredibly frustrating.
It is, because it has to belong to somebody. It can't just stay up there and not belong to anybody. Please get rid of it now, not just for me, but for mums with kids. It's not nice having to walk out in the middle of the road. It's not safe to walk out in the middle of the road. And why should we have to walk the long way round to make it safe?
Labour MP for Aylesbury, Laura Kyrke-Smith, joins me on the line now. Good morning to you, Laura.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us on the show. Why did you decide to get involved in this? Is what's seen as a very local infrastructure issue?
Yeah, it's a local infrastructure issue, but honestly, I've lost count of the number of residents that have been in touch with me about it. And I've obviously walked and driven down that way a lot myself. And it's been 7 years now. I mean, you've just been hearing there how dangerous it is. I worry a lot for people who are on their mobility scooters, like Linda, who you've spoken to before and spoke to again just there. People in wheelchairs, people with kids. It just feels like it's an accident waiting to happen. And after 7 years, and for me now, after a year in this job and hearing from so many people about it, I felt I had to pick it up, just try and get a bit of a spotlight back on it as an issue again, and see if we can get the council to do something more to get it sorted. What
more can the council do though, Laura? Because they say they've reached out to the owner of the building. The owner of the building has not responded, and they're kind of like a stalemate. What else can the council do?
Yeah, it's really tricky. So I've had some ongoing engagement now with the council on it. I really do recognise the difficulty with developing that site at number 112 on the high street, because as I understand it, the company that owned it actually went into liquidation, and then I think they have been trying to auction it and sell it, and that's failed a couple of times, and so it's kind of fallen, that bit of that building has fallen into Crown ownership, as I understand it, which makes it very difficult for the council to sort of go ahead and do anything with that, with the sort of bit of the site that's where the building used to be. But that scaffolding, the council does have the authority to work on, and it's obviously the pavement that it's going over. It's not that site. So ultimately, I want it gone. I want that problem fixed. But what I'm saying to the council is, okay, if we can't figure out the development of that site, let's at least get that scaffolding redesigned, so that it's not this horrible danger for people going up that way. And the next step that is needed in order to do that is to get a structural engineer to come and look at it. You'd need them to put their expert view on it and to say how it could be improved or redesigned to make it safer for people to get through. But I've had lots of options suggested to me. You could, if you had an archway going through it, then you could still have a bit of walkway on the pavement, or if you wanted, you could establish a bit of pedestrian walkway just out around the side of it. But I'm no expert in structural design, but I understand that the next step that is needed is for a structural engineer to come and assess it.
Because and just for those that don't know the area, we're not talking about your standard scaffolding here that you see every day, wherever you go out. This is heavy duty stuff. The building is, it's literally holding the building up. It's hardcore, big industrial scaffolding that we're talking about here. It's incredibly ugly. There's been fly tipping that's been going on. It looks a mess. Like we said, people can't use the pavements. And not only the people walking, but those businesses that are trying to survive, all those restaurants down there. And one of them is one of the best Indian restaurants in Aylesbury, by the way. It's lovely. They must be putting their hair out, because it must be affecting their business.
They are. Well, it's gone on for years, and and Mr. Khan, who runs El Halal there, I've had a great conversation with him. It's a family business that it goes back decades, and they've never had it so difficult as in these last few years, because you walk up to it, and because of that scaffolding, you assume the business isn't open. It is, and I would urge people to go in there and try their delicious Indian food. But it's putting customers off going there, and that's. Sorry, but just I'm saying to the council as well, that if they can work with the local businesses and the local residents on the solution, I know that would be hugely welcomed by everyone who's there. And there's other things they could do, like for El Halal, if they were to put some clearer signage up, to say it's still open, and just support those local businesses a bit, and still being able to bring their customers through the door and so on, while all of this is still being sorted with the scaffolding.
What's the next step if the council, doesn't act here? I mean, as you mentioned there, it's now under. Did you say it's under the what's the word you used? The King's.
It's under Crown ownership.
Crown ownership. So what's the next step there then?
So I think I want that scaffolding gone. We all do, but I think that's clearly going to take some time for the council to work out. So I think we're right to just focus now on, okay, how can we improve the scaffolding and make sure that it's not the massive obstruction and dangerous obstruction that it is. I think that next step is getting the structural engineer out to have a look at it and to tell us how we can reopen the access on that.
I know that you've done your bit, and you've been asking questions and getting responses and stuff. Is there anything the residents can do to get involved? Is there a petition they can sign? Should they contact their councillor, or chain themselves to the scaffolding? What else can they do?
I hope it doesn't come to that. I've done a petition. If you want to, you can Google it, and if you want to sign my petition, that's great. It just helps me show the council that there's a lot of appetite to get this fixed. But do keep reporting it directly to the council as well. And as I say, I'm asking the council to engage with residents, because I think there's other suggestions I've heard, like if we can't solve the scaffolding quickly? Can we get another crossing put on the road so at least you don't have to walk all the way right down to the other end of it and back up again? And these are ideas that are coming to me from residents. So I want the council to be hearing those and to have a proper discussion about what the right way forward is long term. Obviously, getting rid of the thing, but short term as well, just in terms of making it a bit easier and a bit safer for everyone.
Laura, as always, appreciate your time and thank you for joining us on the show this morning. That was Labour MP for Aylesbury, Laura Kyrke-Smith there. Now, Buckinghamshire Council have given us a statement. It says, "We fully understand the ongoing frustrations. The building was unsafe due to building works undertaken and emergency scaffolding was erected to prevent the remaining buildings in the terrace from further damage or collapse. We are pushing for a redesign of the scaffolding with the builder's owners, so it includes a walkway section, and we are progressing this as quickly as we can." We did this story a year ago. Is that the same statement? I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure it's not, but it doesn't half sound familiar. This has been going on for 7 years. Let's see how this all one plays out, but I wouldn't hold your breath, everybody.